What do you mean a customer waited 40 minutes for a grilled cheese? Ryder Preston's voice cut through the conference room like a knife. The district manager across from him flinched but kept his tone even. It was an isolated thing. Store 11's been running a little lean lately. Couple people quit, one guy's out with a broken wrist, and they're training someone new. Ryder leaned back in his chair, jaw tight. He didn't like excuses. He'd inherited the 12-location restaurant chain from his father 3 years ago, and while he'd turned profits around, he hadn't set foot in every location since. He trusted his people. Or, he used to. Now he was hearing too many complaints, seeing too many 5-star reviews slipping to 3. Store 11 had been one of their busiest lunch line out the door, dinner tables always full. But lately, sales were down, quality complaints rising. Ryder hated relying on filtered reports. "I want to see it myself," he muttered. The district manager raised a brow. "You want me to set up a walkthrough?" "No, I don't want them to know I'm coming." Ryder drove 3 hours out to Store 11 the next day. It was a medium-sized spot tucked in the edge of a busy strip mall, the kind of place that should be buzzing with energy. Instead, the windows looked smudged. A busser was half-heartedly wiping down a table out front. Inside, things looked tired. He'd spent the night before shaving his beard, cutting his hair short, and renting a set of clothes that made him look like a 25-year-old culinary school dropout. Nobody had seen his clean-shaven face in years. Most of the current staff had never met him. They'd only know his name from the training manual or a framed photo near the register. He pushed through the doors of Store 11, shouldering a beat-up backpack. "Hey," he greeted the woman behind the host stand. "I'm here about the line cook trainee spot." She blinked at him. "You're Ryder?" He froze for half a second before remembering Ryder wasn't exactly a rare first name. He nodded. "Yeah, Ryder Blake," she shrugged. "Hang tight. I'll grab the manager." The manager turned out to be a guy in his late 30s, short sleeves rolled to his elbows, a Bluetooth earpiece stuck in one ear. "You're the new guy? All right. Throw your bag in the back. We're slammed and down a guy. You'll be working the fryer for now." "You ever used one?" Ryder nodded. "A bit." Truthfully, he'd worked every station in the kitchen back when his dad first made him earn his place in the company. It was years ago, but muscle memory kicked in fast. He pulled on an apron, tied his hair back, and hit the line. The kitchen was loud. Hot. A chaotic rhythm of sizzling oil, clanging pans, and shouted orders. Ryder kept his head down, watching, listening. One server dropped 2 plates on the floor and got chewed out by the manager in front of the entire staff. Another cook was clearly limping, but nobody said anything. "Where's Martin?" Someone shouted over the noise. "Sick," a young woman called back. "Still came in." Ryder's head turned. "He's here," the girl, a line cook named Bailey, nodded toward the back. "Yeah, he's on grill today. Said he's fine, but he's burning up." Ryder made his way down the line during a lull and stopped cold. The guy on the grill was pale, sweating, and barely holding it together. His hands shook as he flipped a burger and he coughed hard into his sleeve. "Dude, you all right?" Ryder asked. Martin nodded weakly. "Just a cold. You should go home." "I can't," Martin's voice rasped. "They said if I miss another shift, I'm out." Ryder's stomach dropped. "Who told you that?" The manager said. "I've already called out twice this month." Ryder didn't answer. He just stood there for a second, frozen, watching this man cook food for customers while clearly sick. He felt sick himself. "Ryder," the manager barked. "Quit chatting, get back on fryer." He didn't move. Martin dropped a spatula. It clanged loudly. He bent to pick it up and nearly fell forward. That's when Ryder dropped his own tongs and walked to the front. "Where's the manager?" he asked the host. She pointed toward the office. He knocked once, then pushed open the door. The manager looked up, annoyed. "What?" Ryder shut the door behind him and pulled off his hat. The manager's face shifted. "You don't recognize me, do you?" Ryder asked quietly. The man stared. "No, Ryder Preston. I own this place, and I just watched one of my chefs nearly collapse because you threatened to fire him for being sick." The manager's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ryder stepped forward. You and I are gonna have a long talk. The office was small and windowless, with a faint hum from a mini fridge in the corner and a stack of unopened invoices slouched in a wire tray. The manager, Greg, according to the schedule Ryder had glimpsed, stood frozen near the desk, shifting his weight every few seconds like he was trying to wake himself from a bad dream. Ryder stayed by the door, arms crossed. Sit. Greg didn't move. I said sit. He finally dropped into the desk chair, eyes darting toward the hallway. Nobody's coming in here, Ryder said. I told the host to hold the door unless someone's bleeding. Greg leaned back slowly, exhaling. Look, no, Ryder cut in. You don't open your mouth until I ask. First, how long has Martin been coming in sick? Greg glanced at the monitor on his desk. Couple days, Ryder's tone sharpened. Speak plainly, Greg swallowed. Since last Thursday, that's 6 days. He's been cooking food for guests, coughing on the line, sweating through his shirt, and nobody thought that maybe he should be home. I told him to wear gloves. You told him to wear gloves, Ryder repeated flatly. Greg leaned forward, trying to recover ground. We've been short-staffed. I'm not making excuses, but it's been tight. I'm working doubles myself. If Martin takes off, we can't cover grill. That's over half the orders. Ryder paced once, then turned slowly. So instead of adjusting the menu, rotating stations, or calling in backup from another store, you told a sick man to keep flipping burgers and hope nobody notices. Greg held up a hand. I didn't force him. You threatened his job. I needed him to understand how serious things are right now. He's 20 minutes late one day, no shows a second time, and then calls out. I've got customers walking out because they're waiting too long. You think this is easy? Ryder stepped closer. You think I'm here to hear how hard it is for you? I just spent 6 hours on the line. I saw Bailey slicing her hand because nobody stopped to restock gloves. I saw a dishwasher run out the back and throw up behind the dumpster. And I watched a server get humiliated in front of customers for dropping a tray, with no one stepping in to help. You're running this place like a pressure cooker with no release valve. Greg's voice lowered. The people we get in here, they don't last. Half of them aren't cut out for this. They quit before we can even train them. Ryder's face darkened. So you burn out the ones who stay? Greg didn't answer. Ryder tapped the desk. You're done here. Clean out your things. I'll have someone from HR reach out this week. Greg stood up sharply. Wait, I don't wait. You knew the line was falling apart. You didn't step in. You leaned harder. That's not leadership. That's neglect. Greg looked like he wanted to argue, but instead picked up a plastic water bottle, muttered something under his breath, and walked out. Ryder locked the office door behind him. By the time he returned to the kitchen, the tension had shifted. People were whispering, glancing his way. He ignored it and went straight to Martin. Put down the spatula. Martin blinked. I'm good. No, you're not. I can finish the lunch rush. No, you're going home. And you're staying home until you've seen a doctor and gotten cleared. Martin's shoulders sagged. But I can't. You're getting paid leave. Full coverage. I'll handle it. He hesitated. Why would you do that? Ryder didn't answer right away. Because I should have been here a long time ago. He turned to Bailey. Can you handle grill for the next hour? She nodded, surprised. Yeah, just need to shift the fryer to someone else. Ryder grabbed an apron. I'll take it. The next 2 hours passed in a blur. Ryder manned the fryer, watching the rhythm of the kitchen up close. Orders were called tighter. People moved with a little more energy, not because they felt safe yet, but because something had cracked open. At 3:45, the last of the lunch crowd trickled out. The kitchen slowed. Bailey leaned on the prep counter, wiping sweat from her brow. Is it true? She asked softly. You're the guy in the picture by the register. Ryder nodded. She gave a dry laugh. You don't look like him. Good. That means the disguise worked. She looked at him again, more carefully. Why'd you come? He took a breath. Because I got tired of hearing numbers instead of names. When something's wrong, you feel it in your gut, but I ignored it too long. Bailey glanced toward the office. So what now? I'm staying for dinner rush. Then I'm calling corporate and pulling 2 assistant managers from nearby stores to rotate here the next week. You'll get coverage, and I want your help interviewing for the permanent replacement. Her eyebrows rose. Me, you've been keeping this place running. You've earned a say. She didn't answer at first, just nodded once and went to check the prep list. Ryder stepped into the tiny break room and sank onto a crate of dry goods. His shirt clung to his back, and the smell of fryer oil clung to his skin. But for the first time in days, he didn't feel adrift. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. A voice picked up. "Hey, Mr. Preston, call me Ryder. I need you to send someone from HR to store 11 by tomorrow. And pull the last 6 months of scheduling records." Understood. One more thing, I want a company-wide message drafted. Mandatory paid sick leave for all hourly kitchen staff effective immediately. There was a pause. Even for part-timers, for everyone. He ended the call and looked up. In the reflection of the microwave door, he saw himself. Not the man in the framed photo, not the suit behind a desk. Just someone who'd finally walked into his own business and seen what it really looked like, and he wasn't done yet. Ryder stayed through dinner rush. He didn't plan to. He'd thought he'd watch another hour, maybe help where needed, then head back to corporate with a list of issues to fix. But the deeper he got into the flow of the kitchen, the harder it was to walk away. The rhythm was off. There were tiny missteps everywhere, tickets going missing, food cooling on the pass because servers were juggling too many tables. 2 dishes sent back because they weren't what the customers ordered. Not disasters, but cracks. And cracks didn't fix themselves. By 6, the dining room was filled. A party of 8 arrived without a reservation and had to be split across 2 tables. A couple got up and left after waiting 15 minutes without being greeted. Henry, the only dishwasher on shift, was already on his 2nd pair of gloves for the night, and his shoulders visibly sagged every time another tray of plates slammed through the hatch. Ryder pulled Bailey aside near the walk-in cooler. "Who's your best all-around?" She didn't hesitate. "Jules. Covers sauté most nights but knows expo and prep too. Quick thinker." "Where is she?" Bailey tilted her head toward the far end of the line. Black bandana, red apron. Ryder made his way over. Jules was moving fast, pulling pans one-handed and plating with the precision of someone who didn't have time to second-guess. He waited until she slid a finished dish onto the pass and wiped her hands on a towel. "Got a second?" She gave him a quick once-over. "Not really. I'm Ryder," she blinked. "The guy who just showed up today. I own the place." She didn't react, just crossed her arms and leaned slightly back. "I need someone to run point tonight," he said. "Expo's overwhelmed and the floor manager's not keeping pace." "You think you can step in?" She didn't nod immediately. "I can. But that means pulling someone else to cover sauté. You gonna do that?" He gestured to himself. "I'll take it." She studied him for a second, then turned. "All right. I'll grab the tablet and reassign routes." As Jules moved to the pass, Ryder tied on a fresh apron and stepped into her station. His muscle memory kicked in faster now. He remembered the rhythm of the burners, how to plate for consistency, how to anticipate the grill's timing. But it was Jules who impressed him. She didn't just run expo, she recalibrated the entire flow. She rerouted runners, cut down the chatter at the window, and started calling tickets with a clarity that tightened the kitchen's tempo. Within 20 minutes, the delays dropped. Plates stopped piling up. Servers started hitting tables with full trays instead of partials. Still, the strain was visible. Henry was now rinsing and loading dishes with a slight limp. The hostess from earlier was now doubling as a food runner, her shirt damp with sweat. And Bailey hadn't taken a break in over 6 hours. Ryder spotted her refilling the prep bin near the back and approached. "When's the last time you sat down?" She didn't look up. "I'm fine." "That's not what I asked." She paused, one hand on the lid of the chopped onions. "Lunch." "Around 11. "That's 9 hours." She closed the lid. "We're all doing what we can." He stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to prove anything. I'm asking you to stop for 15 minutes, drink some water, sit. You can't lead if you collapse." Bailey's jaw tightened, but she nodded. When she disappeared into the back hallway, Ryder turned toward the front of house. The dining room looked packed but calm. He scanned for the floor manager. The man in question, Kurt, was leaning against the bar, sipping from a cup and scrolling on his phone. Ryder walked over. "How long have you been standing here?" Kurt looked up slowly. "Excuse me." The table by the window just flagged a server because their food's cold. "That's the second time tonight. Where were you?" Kurt shrugged. "We're short." "I told them we'd be behind." "So you told them once and then gave up. It's dinner rush. I'm not a magician." Ryder studied him. "How many tables are you managing?" "Same as always, about 20. "And how many servers on floor?" 4. "That's 5 tables each. Manageable." "So again, where were you?" Kurt straightened. "Who even are you?" "I'm the owner." Kurt's eyes narrowed. "You're the new guy, Ryder something." "Ryder Preston. My name's on the lease, and I've been working this line since you walked in." Kurt scoffed. "No one told me you were coming." "That's the point." Kurt looked at the bar, then back at Ryder. "What do you want me to say?" "I'm doing my job." "Your job isn't standing still while your team breaks down. I've watched you walk past 2 servers who needed help and ignore 3 tables with issues." "That's not leadership, that's babysitting from a distance." "You think you can do better?" Ryder didn't raise his voice. "I already am." Kurt's expression hardened. "You can't just fire me without a warning." "You're right," Ryder said, "but I can fire you for negligence, and I will." "Gather your things." Kurt stepped back. "This is ridiculous. You let your staff drown while you watched. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern." Kurt stormed toward the back without another word. Ryder turned to the host. "Call in one of the floaters from Store 4. Tell them it's urgent. They'll be compensated for transportation and overtime." She nodded and picked up the phone. By 9, the pace had stabilized. Jules had rotated back to sauté, and Ryder switched to organizing cold prep for tomorrow's brunch. The servers moved a little faster now, eyes less frantic. Henry had taken a 10-minute break after Ryder insisted, and Bailey returned with a clearer focus. The whole kitchen settled into something like balance. After the last table finished, Ryder gathered the team in the back. "I'm not here for a speech," he said. "You've all done enough listening. But I do want to say this: what happened here tonight wasn't your fault, it's mine. I let things drift too far. That ends now." He turned to Jules. "I'm offering you a lead kitchen role, title, raise, and authority to restructure shifts as needed." She blinked. "You're serious?" "You've already been doing the job, I'm just making it official." He looked to Bailey. "You're getting assistant manager designation, effective next week. You'll help with hiring and operations." Then to Henry. "You're getting a paid week off starting Monday. And we'll talk about adding another dishwasher to share the load." There was a long pause. "I'm not promising overnight fixes," Ryder continued, "but I'll be here every week until this store's running right. And the next time any of you see someone forced to work sick or a manager ignoring their staff, you come to me directly. That kind of behavior is over. Permanently." Bailey nodded slowly. Jules looked down, processing. Henry let out a quiet breath and leaned against the wall. Ryder stepped out into the empty dining room. The chairs were up. The lights dimmed. He stood by the front windows, watching the parking lot empty. It was a long drive back to headquarters. But he knew he'd be returning before the week was out, not to check boxes, but to rebuild trust. From the ground up. By the following Tuesday, Ryder was back at Store 11 by 9 in the morning, this time without a disguise. He walked in through the front entrance in plain clothes, no apron, no clipboard, no entourage. The place was quiet, the staff just beginning to prep for lunch. A few heads turned, unsure what to do. He gave a small nod and moved past them toward the back. Jules was in the walk-in, organizing the meat deliveries. She glanced up as he entered. "I didn't expect you this early." "I'm not here to oversee," he said. "Just checking in before corporate meetings swallow the rest of my day." She pulled a crate of chicken thighs forward, her sleeves rolled halfway up. "We're short 2 again. One called out, the other's hours were trimmed last week and never restored." He stepped aside to let her through. Bailey already flagged it. "We're authorizing overtime for now. Long-term, we'll shift labor budgets across stores to support the new hires." Jules set the crate on the prep counter. "You think the others will go for that? They'll push back." But I'm not asking. She gave a short nod and returned to her station without another word. Ryder went to the back office. Bailey was at the desk, surrounded by a stack of printed resumes and a notepad with scribbled notes. "I've got 3 interviews scheduled for Thursday," she said without looking up. "One's a dishwasher. The other 2 are line cooks. One of them used to run grill at a place downtown. No red flags on the background check." He leaned against the wall. "You planning to run the interviews solo?" Jules offered to sit in on one. He gave a half grin. "You trust her judgment. I trust her to spot lazy hands and bad attitudes. That's more than I can say for whoever hired Kurt." She didn't say it with malice, just clarity. Ryder appreciated it. "You've been managing the schedule, prep flow, and training plan for 3 days straight," he said. "I want to bring in a temporary assistant from Store 6 to help you manage the front." Bailey closed the folder she was flipping through. "What's the long play?" "Stabilize the team." "Then restructure leadership from the inside. I'm not dropping in just to fix this week. I'm making sure you're not stuck cleaning up someone else's damage 6 months from now." She nodded once, then reached for her coffee. "You'll need to update the system permissions." "I still don't have access to submit payroll corrections." He made a mental note. "I'll handle it today." As he stepped out into the hallway, he spotted Henry stacking crates by the back door. Ryder walked over. "You're supposed to be off." Henry wiped his forehead with the back of his glove. "I volunteered. We were behind on receiving." "Volunteering doesn't mean doing 2 people's work." "I wasn't asked, I offered." Ryder looked at the stack. "You going to take a break when you're done?" "I will." "You sure?" Henry looked him in the eye. "Yeah." Ryder nodded and moved on, resisting the urge to hover. He spent the next hour scanning the floor without interrupting. He watched how Jules guided 2 new hires through prep, how Bailey flagged a misprinted ticket before it reached the kitchen, and how the host same girl from last week politely redirected a walk-in party to a better time slot. The energy was still strained, but it was focused now. No one was flailing. No one was being ignored. Mid-morning, HR arrived. A woman named Alina, sharp-eyed and soft-voiced, set up briefly in the office to collect statements about Greg and Kurt. Ryder had already submitted his own report, but he made a point to stop in. "Are we covered legally?" he asked her. "We are. Their employment files were already shaky. The statements we've gathered support your decision. No pushback so far. Good." "I want that door closed for good." "It is." As Alina packed up, she added, "I've also flagged 2 stores with similar complaints. You want us to audit them?" "Quietly," he said. "But yes, if there's more of this, I want it rooted out." She left shortly after. By noon, Ryder pulled Jules and Bailey aside near the service hallway. "I'm heading out in 10 minutes. I'll be back Friday. Until then, anything you need, equipment, staff, supply chain adjustments, you route it through me directly." Jules crossed her arms. "You're not delegating that?" "Not yet." Bailey asked. "Is that sustainable?" "No," he said. "But it's necessary for now. I let too much rot get buried under numbers. I'm not doing that again." They didn't argue. As he turned to leave, the host caught up with him near the entrance. "Excuse me, Ryder," he stopped. "Got a minute?" "Of course." She hesitated. "I just wanted to say, thanks for what you did last week, for Martin, for all of us." He studied her face. She looked young, barely in her 20s, but steady. "I appreciate that," he said. "What's your name?" "Sophia." "You planning to stick around?" She smiled slightly. "Depends. You planning to keep showing up?" "I am." "Then yeah, I think I will." He stepped outside into the parking lot. The sun was sharp off the windshields. The air smelled like citrus cleaner and fryer oil. He took a breath and started toward his car. His phone buzzed. It was a message from corporate. Preliminary report on Store 11 projected customer satisfaction up 12% week over week. Employee feedback positive. He didn't respond. Instead, he opened his calendar and blocked off every Friday for the next 2 months. Not for meetings, for visits. Store 11 wasn't fixed, not yet. But it was no longer ignored. And that was where change began. Not with a memo, not with a training video. but with someone stepping through the front door and asking, "How bad is it, really?" Now he knew. Now he was staying.